get it from me, Lumine. It belongs to me.
So I have finally made it. We are in Nodecry. I'm so excited to talk to you all about this because, oh my god, has this been better than what I've expected? Better than what y'all been hyping up? Let's just get right into it, okay? I have been surprised by the environments of Nodecry. As a huge fan of games like Fallout, I love the aesthetic of Nasha Town, being this scrappy makeshift town with a magnetic, a unipolar field technology. And I also found it super easy to navigate. And the bounty hunting system, which is an awesome idea, encourages more exploration rather than just following points on your map. I especially love the observation deck. You can just look out and see everything that Hoyoverse has created in Nodecry, whether it be the Hishi Island, the Experimental Design Bureau, you just see everything. And I just think that is such an exciting way to introduce the player of like, this is the island you get to explore. It got me super excited to continue playing this quest. And also, here are just the other amazing locations that I was able to visit throughout my journey in Act 1. Next is I want to talk about the Snezhnayans because there were several conversations as I was exploring Nasha Town that like really stuck to mind, right? The first one are the couple vacationing in Nodecry. This was such a hilarious conversation. I really loved it. Go check out my playthrough if you want to see me voice the whole thing. It was so much fun. We also got to meet former Fatui members protesting about unpaid labor outside the flagship, where a Fatui recruiter was set up shop. It was a really cool experience that I don't think we got to see more of the inner workings of how the Fatui treat their own members in this way. We also met Goslin, who sells like non-weaponized tech, who gets mad at you for making the assumption that all Snezhnayans are either Fatui or Fatui aligned, which I just really appreciate all of these conversations that humanize the Snezhnayans outside of just being Fatui members or Fatui like aligned. And then we go into the characters. I want to first talk about Inefa and Aino. I really enjoyed the relationship between Inefa and Aino. They remind me of the duo Hakase and Nano from Nichijou, which is just absolutely go watch the anime. It's amazing. And I did worry a little bit about Aino, as she is definitely the type of child character that like gets really grating on the ears. But so far, Hoyoverse has done an excellent job of making sure she isn't too annoying. Flins, I hope we learn more about Flins. He would briefly show up in Act 1, but we just don't get much after that. We notice that his lantern's a bit weird and that he hunts the wild hunt and that he says, see you by the graveside. Cool, I guess, but we'll see if he truly is like a really cool character. But after playing through Natlan, I'm confident that Hoyoverse can write characters well. Oh, also Dori returns. Even though she hasn't mattered yet in the grand scheme of Act 1, it's just really nice to see an older character show up in these quests and have just a presence. It's really cool. It brings the world together. Now, the Curatorium of Secrets is a fun group of characters. Nefer being this sexy badass who's the best information broker in Nodecry, and maybe the entirety of Teyvat. And then you have Yehoda, who is just this goofy overthinker, always thinking of ways to not do her job. It's just a wonderful duo of characters that really complement each other nicely. And that's something I was noticing. It's always Inefa and Aino, and then their dynamic is so interesting. Nefer and Yehoda, their dynamic, so interesting. Even Dori brings up her relationship with Nefer, and I'm like, oh, are we going to get to see an exchange between these two characters? Flynn's right now, he's off on his own, but hopefully we get to see him with his own duo character. It makes me very excited to see how Hoyoverse handles more character interactions in the future. Also, another character, we get to see the Marionette. She is such a brat, but like in the best ways. Once again, another character where in most anime, I would find them so annoying, but I don't know how they do it. But Hoyoverse just writes these characters so well. And the fact that we are introduced to her by just having her at the Adventurers Guild is wonderful. And the fact that she brings us the Moon Relic at the end of the act, there's some hope for this character potentially being a good aligned Fatui member. And lastly, the biggest surprise is Columbina. Holy. I was wondering what it must be like for players who have never saw the Winter Night Laszlo trailer to be surprised to learn that Columbina used to be a part of the Harbingers. Either way, this is such a wonderfully cautious, introverted character who is born from the moon and wishes to return home. My mind was blown, okay? Genshin went from 0 to 100 so quickly in Nodcry. I'm loving every single moment. She's also a really sad character. Every time I visit her little cave, although it's beautiful, it's so lonely. And I hope that we can continue to help her in finding more meaning in life and in friends. I also was surprised by Lauma. And look, I love my sexy men and women, okay? But many of the characters in Genshin whose stories I'm attached to are not the ones I find attractive. But Lauma is different. She is such a kind-hearted soul trying to do what is best for the people around her, and she does this while leading the Frostmoon Scion. She also has some insane lore, as she knows about the true moon, which we learn is the Frost Moon, as the other moons, the Eternal and the Iridescent, have broken apart by Descenders. Good, there's just so much lore, okay? And Lauma also promises that the Moon Marrow will allow her to see in the Traveler's true past. Bro, we are in Act 1. What's going on? There's just so much lore and story drops during Act 1. I just won't be able to get to everything, but there are a few highlights that I really dug that I just want to share with you. First off, the moon. I love learning about the moon in this game. We got the Scaramouche event happening in like 1.0 that's teasing about the fake sky, and then Natlan, we see the sky actually break and we see the ancient moon remnants, and now it feels like once we get to Nodcry, everyone knows about the fake moon and the moons in the sky. It's just absolutely insane, absolutely crazy. I'm just so happy that we're finally getting this information. And also, let's talk about the final gnosis, okay? I appreciate that the shroud of mystery about which harbinger will be collecting the final gnosis in Natlan is still a mystery. At the beginning of Act 1, a Fatui member in Natlan is directly contacted with the marionette, watching over the traveler. However, at the end of Act 1, the marionette hands over the sacred relic because it was Dottore who originally asked to retrieve it. This is a complicated mystery, and it's really compelling because it definitely shows that there are cracks and weaknesses between the alliances of Marionette and Dottore. That being said, I don't know if it is Dottore, but based on our conversations with Malvika in Act 5, it's Dottore. I wasn't expecting there to be a spaceship mystery upon our arrival in Nodcry. The traveler is just like, yeah, I crashed on the beach by the mountains. And I love this bit of detail because as you explore Nodcry, or you just get up to the observation deck, you don't notice any mountains. And Nefa even mentions like, hey, there are no mountains in Nodcry. And I love that as you are looking around, you do see by the Experimental Design Bureau floating fragments of Earth. And I'm like, oh, there we go. That's our mountain. Now, what could have caused the mountain to be destroyed is either the ancient moon relics falling from the sky or the Fatui, so I am excited to get this mystery unveiled. Another thing that crossed my mind and had me a little bit racing is that Aino said that they have not come across any technology that is out of this world. Now, Inefa does clarify that Aino is only referring to if it's been disassembled or repurposed, but I mean, what if it truly came from this world, whether it be far future or far past, but close enough for not to make Aino think that this is not from our world. Look, I'm a bit crazy here, but I'm thinking about it. I also loved learning that as we were performing the heist on the Experimental Design Bureau, which was just a really fun moment in the quest, it is actually built on top of one of the Eternal Moon's fragments. So it got me curious what Dottore has been up to. We've gotten to see so much from Marionette, but she seems so not interested in the moon stuff. So it's gotta be Dottore, right? Also, speaking of the moons, the Traveler mentions which of these were the Crimson Moon from Conria, which is just a wild reminder, okay? I would imagine it's like a false moon made by Conria, with one or both of the siblings being meant to be the goddesses of the Crimson Moon. I don't know, but I'm very excited that we are already asking these questions, having these mysteries, so that we can just be so hyped and excited once these get revealed. And Kuvaki is a wild concept. Again, another elemental force that is more like phlogiston in terms of being primordial. It comes from the primordial sea. I'm so curious that we're already having these different forms of powers that are outside of the 7 that we have grown accustomed to. And I need to keep in my pocket is that Teyvat was created by the primordial master. Now, I don't spend too much time digging into the lore, but this is the first I've heard about it. And there's just still so much lore and story in Act 1. It was packed. I could not believe it. I didn't even get to the entire sequence where Aether is working with the Wild Hunt, or the Wild Hunt is Aether. This is certainly my favorite Act 1 of any of the Genshin stories, so I am so thrilled to play more, which you can all check out on my playthrough channels over on the channel. By the time I release this video, I should be past Act 4 in the quest. I went a bit crazy during the Christmas and New Year's break, but thank you to the Patreon, Twitch, and YouTube members for being so generous in supporting the channel. Come back next time for my thoughts on Act 2. Holy, it's gonna be good. It's gonna be good. Goodbye now. Bye-bye.